Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
Good morning. I'm Rob Woodard. This is Sunday Journal. Today I'm talking with retired banker Elliott Carr, and he's also an author. He's written a book called Herring Run, Life and Death at Stony Brook. And as you can imagine, the subject this morning will be all you want to know about herring. Good morning, Mr. Carr. Thanks for joining me today.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here.
So let's begin about your book. What is so special about the herring that you were inclined to write a book about them?
Well, to give you the historical answer to that it's generally believed that if the Indians hadn't told the Pilgrims that you plant herring in the cornfields for fertilizer, which increases the yield 3 times, the Pilgrims might not have survived.
None of us would be sitting here.
And you just bring, I guess historically they were so readily accessible. You just walk down to a small stream and pull them out. They also were the first regulated industry of any type in New England, and you just could go on and on about the importance of this very accessible fishery to the growth of New England, and it's still there in many ways.
Sure. Can you tell me what physical characteristics there are about herring? I'm not familiar with the fish at all. So if you could just give a description of their size and girth. And
they grow to be about a foot long. Again, I'll say easily catchable on land at the herring runs historically, and somewhat easily catchable at sea. You just and in some ways, the greatest threat to them is probably still at sea, where the giant fishing boats can catch literally thousands and thousands of them, and almost accidentally. They're not trying to catch them, but they do.
What role do the fish play in the ecosystem?
Everybody else eats them. Fishermen use them for bait and the like, and other fish eat them. So they're important to most other fisheries.
Sure.
Out there and on land. I guess I take that back. On land, they're just there, so to speak. They come up to breed and go back down into the water. But
we're not going to find them on a table at a local restaurant or anything like that?
Not likely. Not
okay.
likely. Yeah.
Have you ever tried one?
Yes, I have eaten them. Bony,
right.
Nothing special. I ate one in Pembroke, actually, on the South Shore. There's a herring run, and they had an annual herring fry one Sunday every year. And I think people were just eating them to say they ate herring.
Right.
Yeah.
And how come they're so popular with the fishermen? I mean, you mentioned that they use them for bait, but what other reasons do fishermen?
Well, there again, to start with let's say the sport fishermen, they're good bait for everything, and for a long time they could go down and take 6 from the local herring run, and they did. That was their bait for most things, and somewhat the same way as you move up the fishery, they're good bait for everything. And I think they're probably their role in the economy, you say, is not to be eaten; it's to be used as bait to be eaten by something else at this point in time.
So the fishermen would actually go down to the herring run during the spring season when they're moving through there, collect them, and then go use them as live bait.
Yes,
or chop them up. Or
I think they're dead bait by the time they get out there. They're likely to be a whole fish. And I've lived in Brewster for 30 years, and I can remember Brewster's run, which is one of the more notable ones, is much because it's more accessible. It goes right under a fairly major road, and they used to bring down tank trucks and put a hose into the water and pump them into the tank truck.
Is that right?
I mean, that's the extent to which they're usable for bait. This would obviously bigger time fisheries using
right.
them. Like,
but
yes, I can remember in Maine, you'll see the commercial fishermen down there getting ready to go out in their boat, and they'll bring out a case of herring and pull it out. So they're bait for almost all parts of the fisheries.
And is the population of herring such in this day and age that you would find somebody out there doing that, actually taking them by the truckload out of a herring run?
No, that's in Massachusetts. The herring runs are closed basically, totally, and the like.
That was going to be my next question. A lot of towns have a herring constable, or a person specially trained to deal with the issue of this type of fish. What is the purpose of that person?
Well, number one, they're historical. I think there's always been a herring constable, and up until the state shut the fishery down 6 or 7 years ago, they'd be in charge of who can drive up and take 6 and how often, and there again, that role. The herring constables probably go back to 200 or more years in some of the towns, so it's a historic role. But also, they would be playing some role in trying to maintain and improve the fisheries. I was in Chatham last week in the Chatham fishery. They're all, the herring runs are all different, and he was talking about their run goes through private property, and they're trying to maintain the flow of the streams and the like. So.
What sort of work is that to maintain the flow of the herring? Obviously, it depends upon the length and the width of the herring run. Is it something that is an annual process, or is it ongoing throughout the year?
Well, some of both, I guess. A lot of the herring runs on Cape Cod differ. I mean, some of them are just major, the tidal rivers, and they just go up into the ponds. The Brewster one goes up 22 small waterfalls and the like, which make it more interesting to watch and easier to watch because the waterfalls stop the fish and back them up until they climb, but it would be maintenance of the run primarily for a whole run of problems, people building houses nearby. You just all of the problems of modern development affected herring runs over the years.
So the species is now protected. Is that correct?
In Massachusetts.
Okay, can you tell me
on land?
You can't bring them on land.
No, you can't take them on land. You can't take them. The herring, they go up. They live in the ocean. And probably takes them 3 or 4 days to go up most of the runs to get to the headwaters ponds and spawn, and then an equal amount. But they're that week or two on land. They're in the ocean the rest of the time, and that's the only. They're protected at sea by fishing regulations, and a lot of the time they're not supposed to be taking them, but there again, you get large boats out there with nets, and there's major battles going on in the fishing industry. The Chatham, formerly Hook Fishermen, now Chatham Fishing Alliance, are very much for the protection of herrings because they see the larger boats compete with them. They want the herring there for the cod and the other fish to eat. Whereas the other boats just put down the net.
Right. Who can? So when you say you can't take a herring on land, that means after the herring has come through the run and he or she is in the pond,
protected separated. In the runs, in the run and the ponds. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have any idea what the stock is like now? Is it rebounding? Is it continuing to decline?
Well, the Brewster stock, you go back 300 years and limitless. And then John Hay wrote a book 50, 60 years ago called The Run in Brewster, where I think he was estimating it at 600,000 a year or something going up and spawning. They've been counting them pretty accurately for the last 6 or 7 years, and I think the low was 15,000 2 or 3 years ago. It was back up to 150,000 last year. So whether that's a 1 year phenomenon or not, but there's some signs that there has been some success since the state prevented them taking them, and that they are. But if they're going back up, they're 1% of what they were historically still, or something. I was going to say
that's quite a decline, and
yes.
I would imagine that it's a good sign that they appear to be rebounding at least. But I guess we'll have to wait for the next count to.
Yes, and certainly if you go down to any of the major herring runs now at the peak of the season, which runs about 6 weeks, April, early May, they seem limitless. I mean, you look you look at them and say, geez, how could 100 times more fish have been going up that stream at once historically?
So if someone, it sounds like it's a really interesting phenomenon to witness. If somebody wanted to go and watch the herring, well, let me start with this. Do you know how many herring runs there are on the Cape?
No, I don't.
Would you say they're in the hundreds? Or?
No, I think there's probably, all told, somewhere between 25 and 50, maybe slightly less than 25. There's 4 or 5 major ones. Almost every town has at least one herring run, and almost all of them are working at trying to improve them. And
so you would, if you were interested in going and watching this, you would contact whatever town you're interested in? Yes. Contact the constable?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so you go to the herring run, and you can just kind of stand there and watch this activity.
There again, I haven't been to anywhere near all of them. Some of them it would be a lot easier, and I think probably the Brewster one has far and away more spectators because it is right on Stony Brook Road, and because you have those 22 waterfalls backing them up, and you could go down there on the right day and see pools of 1,000 herring waiting, for their chance. And I think the record count last year was 560 in 10 minutes. Towards that, puts in perspective that $150,000 estimated total, and they're very easy to see in Brewster. You park your car and walk 100 feet, and you'll come to some small waterfalls where they're really backed up for 50 feet downstream to go up there. Some of the other runs, as I say, flow through more pastoral, hard to get to, and don't have the waterfalls backing them up.
But maybe not on public property.
Yes, that's right. A lot of them are not on public property, but there certainly are many others where you get some modification of the Brewster experience, being able to go out and look at them.
And so this is a phenomenon that takes place over a period of weeks, you said?
Yes, it usually will start sometime early to mid-April and end sometime by mid-May. So
is the activity 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or does it ebb and flow?
I both. That's I'm equivocating, but there certainly are peaks of the day. It's related to tides, and I don't know that anybody. I don't think Brewster has counters at night. I mean, I don't think they are aware. By the same token, black-crowned night herons the seagulls are a very interesting phenomenon, herring gulls. But another bird, black-crowned night heron, there used to be thousands of them on Cape Cod, believe it or not. And in Brewster, for instance, the town shot them all because they were keeping people awake at night, which means the black-crowned night herons fish for herring at night. So
if somebody wants to participate in the count, it's done by volunteers. How would they go about doing that?
Yes, I think you'd find most of the towns right now are looking for volunteers and would be glad to have you come in.
So just contact
contact the and it is an interesting experience.
Right. We've only got a couple minutes left, Mr. Carr. Is there anything else that I've missed here with regard to these fish? It sounds like they're a phenomenal part of the ecosystem and very important to life here on Cape Cod.
Yeah, no, the only thing I would add to that is if you're going to go out and help count or look at them, read a little bit. I'm not trying to sell my book. You would learn something. But in most, there again, you pick up Brewster history books. I think the histories of most towns would have something about the herring fishery in them, and there is a history of practically every town. And so I think it would be a little bit more interesting if you get a little bit of background before you go out there.
Well, you've certainly piqued my interest. Thank you very much for being here today, Mr. Carr.
Thank you. Pleasure.
I've been talking with Elliott Carr of Brewster. He's written a book, Herring Run, Life and Death at Stony Brook, taking a look at the herring, which is, of course, very important to the ecosystem and fishing life here on Cape Cod. I'm Rob Woodard. This is Sunday Journal.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.